Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror film reviews, ratings, rankings, and rumors. Now for your hosts, Danny, Joel, and Katrina.
Oh yeah, this is Scare Talk. I am Danny and I'm here with Joel.
Hey guys, what's up? Joel.
Joel. So today we're going to talk about one of the more anticipated films of the year, The Exorcist Believer. Highly discussed.
Yeah.
All right, Joel.
Highly hated, apparently.
Yeah.
But
who is a part of it?
All right, so this one stars Leslie Odom Jr. He is Victor. He's what is her name? Angela's dad. He was in Hamilton. He was in Glass Onion, the Knives Out sequel. Okay. And he was on Murder on the Orient Express. And then we got Lydia Jewett. She's Angela. She was in 50 episodes of Good Girls, a movie called Wonder with Owen Wilson and Julia Roberts, and WITS Academy for 20 episodes. I was going to do the girl, Catherine, but when I looked her up, this is literally the only movie she's been in. So,
oh wow,
for her first time, she did a really good job. Yeah. So I'm not gonna mention her because she doesn't have any other credits. But we got Ann Dowd. She's the neighbor. She was in Hereditary, 21 episodes of The Leftovers, which is what I remember her most from, and Compliance. Oh yeah, so that is a good movie. Oh man, as well. Yeah. And then I do want to mention one other person. She is Catherine's mom. Her name is Jennifer Nettles. I want to mention her because she is a country singer. That turned actor. She's the lead. She was. I don't think it's a band anymore, but the lead singer of the band Sugarland.
Really? That's her?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Country band.
Yeah. Yeah, I know who they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought that was a pretty interesting little tidbit there.
That's cool. Yeah, they got some good songs.
Yeah, they do.
Cool.
And all right, so I'm gonna go through the writers. There's 4 of them here. Kind of crazy.
The usual suspects.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, except for this first one, I don't know. They're written by Peter Sattler. He did the screenplay. He did a movie called Camp X-Ray in 2014 and a short called Newton in 2001, and that's literally all he's done. So he does like one thing every decade or so.
Okay.
And then we got David Gordon Green, the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend. He did the screenplay / screen story, which I don't know the difference between. He wrote the Halloween trilogy, Prince Avalanche, which is the Paul Rudd movie, and 12 episodes of a cartoon called Good Vibes. And then we got Scott Teems, the good old Scott Teems. He did the screen story. Talked about this guy a couple of times. Yeah. Because he wrote Insidious, The Red Door, Firestarter, and Halloween Kills. Yeah. And then we got Danny McBride, which I didn't know he was going to be a part of this trilogy. I had no idea. Yeah. I thought it was just a Halloween, but
there's definitely no comedy.
There's not. So I don't know
this movie
how much of this movie that he had his hand in.
Yeah.
I could tell Halloween 2018 there was at least one character in that movie that he pretty much wrote himself, I would assume. But But even in the last two like Halloween movies, there's really not a whole lot of comedy in those either.
Yeah.
But he's Screen Story again with David Gordon Green. The Righteous Gemstones, 27 episodes. The Halloween Trilogy, Eastbound and Down, 29 episodes, and Vice Principals for 18 episodes, which I do like his writing. Like, I haven't seen Righteous Gemstones, but I have heard it's good and I want to see it. I think John Goodman's in that show too. But Eastbound and Down's funny. Vice Principals is funny.
Yeah.
He's not a bad writer,
Yeah.
just not a horror writer. And this was directed by David Gordon Green. He directed the Halloween Trilogy, Pineapple Express, and Our Brand is Crisis, which is the Sandra Bullock movie. So,
Okay.
and he is going to be, I didn't write this down, but I remember he's going to be doing a Hellraiser TV show.
Oh, yeah. Is that
Who
still
knows?
happening?
It's on IMDb. I don't
Is it?
know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to just be like, you know what, David? Nah, we're going to go with someone else. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I wouldn't mind him doing it because you can't get any really worse than a couple of sequels of that franchise. But yeah, so.
All right. So when two girls disappear into the woods and return 3 days later with no memory of what happened to them, the father of one girl seeks out Chris McNeil, who we didn't talk about, by the way, who's been forever
I did not.
by what happened to her daughter 50 years ago.
There's a reason I didn't talk about her, but
Is
there are
Reagan.
characters that are in it more than her. So
She is Reagan's mother from
yes.
the original.
Yes.
Elle Bernstein.
Ellen, yeah.
Or Ellen, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And she is 90 years old.
Turn this movie down initially until they offered her double.
Yeah.
And then she was like, you know what? All right. She's in it for she's not in it that much, so
she's not in it that much. Yeah.
I didn't bother.
So as far as Rotten Tomatoes scores, we've got the tomato meter, the critic score, 22%. Okay. Really low. One of the lowest we've done.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's been lower, but
not this not this new of a movie though.
Yeah, no, not this year. Yeah. As far as the movies that have come out this year.
Yeah, even movies that we've done that were lower, I don't think were new when we reviewed them. So
no, I don't think so.
Maybe Black Christmas, the 2019, maybe.
Yeah, but we weren't doing the Rotten Tomatoes back then.
No, we weren't. Yeah,
I'm sure that one's low though. And then the audience score is a 58%. So we're getting up there. That's a 36% difference. So that's pretty substantial.
It's almost fresh. That's,
getting up there.
It just came out though, so.
And then on IMDb, we got a 5.2 for this one.
Yep.
That's 5,537 reviews.
Yeah. It's been at a 5.2 since it was at about 1,000 also.
Okay.
Maybe even less than that. So it hasn't moved.
Okay.
Like at all. I want to see if it... Because I looked this up earlier today. I want to see... So I think the budget for this movie... So there was a budget of $30 million, plus they bought the rights of the Exorcist for $400 million.
Yeah.
So we'll not talk about that because I don't think we're gonna get to $400 million between the trilogy.
And I don't know how they could think that they would.
I don't. Horror
You
doesn't make
you would
money. Like
need
it's
over 130 million per movie to
yeah,
even
and
make
that's
that
after
back.
that. Yeah, and that doesn't include what they have to put into it
Yeah,
like to make these movies.
yeah,
This movie alone was 30 million. So,
yeah,
which I'm sure a good portion of went to Ellen Burstyn to come
yeah.
back. But I mean, if each of your movies 30 million, that's almost 100 million. That's 500 million right there. Just to like, and then
Break
you
even?
basically have to, and that doesn't. I don't think that includes like marketing either. So marketing is a
No,
whole
yeah,
different thing.
yeah,
So you're talking. You have to like you basically have to make a close to $1 billion between three movies in order to get your money back or to make a profit.
yeah,
Good luck, guys.
yeah,
It's-
yeah.
you're at
I
you're at
don't know
45 million right now.
why.
So
Yeah, I don't know why. And this has nothing to do with this movie. I just don't know
no.
why they thought that this would be successful, unless like for 400 million,
Mm-hmm.
unless they're banking on the rights of The Exorcist and all the stuff that comes with it, like the
Mm-hmm.
merch sales and the streaming, eventually these movies will go on to streaming and
Yeah.
but I don't even all of that. I mean, I don't know how much that stuff, pays, but I mean, you're talking about 20, 30 years down the road maybe
Yeah.
just getting your money back. Like, I don't know. It really, when I heard about that number, I was like, what? This doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense unless they're going
It,
to really do this trilogy. They're going to do like a TV series. They're going to do spin offs, Then,
mm-hmm.
okay, now we're talking about 5, 6, 7 movies or something. With spin off like the Conjuring universe kind of deal,
Yeah.
which, who knows what happens. But for just 3 movies, I don't get it.
You're not gonna be able to stop at three
Yeah.
because you're still gonna be in the hole. So you're
Yeah.
gonna need to continue on with this franchise. And if you have a story for three, you're definitely milking it past four. Like
Yeah.
you've got nothing after that. I
Yeah.
don't know if David Gordon Green went to him with like a story idea for a trilogy,
Yeah.
which based off of this movie, I don't see where they can really continue.
I have
Um,
some ideas.
it's just I mean, especially for a trilogy though. Like, are
Yeah.
you going to take it 2 more movies to to do this story? It's just I don't
Yeah.
know. And I mean, they have because this is the sixth movie in this franchise.
Yeah.
So obviously they had some sort of of story to continue on to get to this movie being the sixth in the franchise, plus a book, plus a TV show. Like it, this is a franchise for sure.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be.
No, it
This
shouldn't.
this should have been a
No.
one movie thing.
Yeah.
The Exorcist. It had ending.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't need any sort of sequels or anything, and
Yeah.
didn't need to be anything other than the one movie. But turned into something else. And
Mm-hmm.
50 years later, it's kind of cool, kind of fun idea. Let's do The
Yeah.
Exorcist again. So I get it, but yeah. So we talked about this one in
Yeah.
our episode a couple episodes ago, where we were kind of talking about the movies coming up,
Mm-hmm.
and so we kind of talked about our thoughts, and I will say that this to me is probably gonna be in my top 5 this year. I would
Top
say,
five.
yeah, at least for now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I liked it a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
not for the reasons that I thought I would like it.
Oh, okay.
Um, I thought it was going to be super scary, and
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
say it was scary. I would say most of the scary stuff you see in the trailer.
Yeah.
Um, but those scary things hit a little bit in the movie, not in a scary way, but a more like powerful way to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I like the movie more for the story, the characters, and a lot of the like religious aspect to it that I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting. It was pretty heavy on the religious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which, obviously it's an exorcism movie, so there's gonna be some of
There's
that.
gonna be some. Yeah.
But this really like went for it with all that, like with scripture and different biblical stories and stuff. So and I did like that. And so things that I didn't expect for this movie
Mm-hmm.
were what made me enjoy it more so than just, it being a good scare type of movie. So I like the characters. I like the build up. It was you know, for the first probably half hour of the movie, there isn't any sort of possession stuff
Yeah.
going on. It's more of kind of like the lead up to it. And if you've
It's
seen
kind
the
of like
trailer,
the
you
original was like that
yeah,
too. So.
exactly. The original was like that. Um, and if you've seen the trailer, kind of how these girls become possessed, and so what's coming. You know the setup, but it
Yeah.
was still effective and well done the way that they approached it, and just the acting, the writing.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of are put in the parents' shoes, and you kind of see the relationship that they that they have with their children and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, yeah, even that half hour, even though I knew what was going to happen,
Yeah.
it was still important
Mm-hmm.
to have, because it
Yeah.
made you kind of more invested in the different characters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll stay there for now.
You
I,
go into
I'm gonna
deep
get
dive into the
into
spoiler section.
yeah, and I want to talk about the criticisms that this movie has had.
Yeah.
And there's a few things that I've seen kind of repeated with some of the reviews that have come out, and I kind of want to talk about those criticisms and kind of see what you think about that. But
There's been a couple of repeating criticisms that
yeah,
I've seen that are just not very, I would say not very fair. It's yeah, we'll talk about that later. Because
so what do
I
you
would
think?
agree. I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be in my top 10. I just don't know where it's gonna be. Because this year's horror movies have just been all over the place. So I have to like really like write them
Yeah,
all down and be like, which one's where.
yeah, that's true.
Um, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was good. It wasn't scary. Like you were saying, but it was suspenseful. There were some creepy
Hmm.
moments in the movie. The Exorcist scene was longer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
A
That was
lot
like
longer than I thought
the
it
whole third
was.
act.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Getting all the people from like different religions involved,
yeah,
and
yeah,
um, I thought it was just mostly a Catholic thing, but apparently
yeah,
every religion has their has their exorcist priests. Um, I really liked the acting a lot. The girls did a really good job,
yeah,
especially that one girl, Catherine, for being her very first movie that
yeah,
she's ever, or like first thing in general that she's ever done.
yeah,
They both did a really good job, and I want to talk about her in the spoiler section too, because that may be where they're going with the sequel. I don't know, but
okay,
we'll get
yeah,
into that in a second. But yeah, I honestly, people are trying to compare this one to the original,
yeah,
and the original was done so many years ago, 50 years ago at this point, that it's like you need to, and I know this is a sequel to that, so like having people telling people not to compare the two is impossible because it is connected. To get
Yeah.
that, but it was a different time back then. Like that kind of thing didn't happen. Um, movie wise didn't happen. Like,
Yeah.
and I can see that movie being scarier. And it is scarier than this movie. It still is to this day. It's scarier than this movie is.
Yeah.
I think modern horror relies too much on jump scare horror, which they did that a few times in this movie. But the thing with The Exorcist, there weren't any jump scares really in that movie, and it
Yeah.
was still the scariest movie to a lot of
Yeah.
people. So it's like you can make a scary movie without without relying on jump
Yeah.
scares. Um, so I was kind of hoping that they would back off on jump scares in this movie. They didn't really,
Yeah.
which is
There were definitely a few of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I liked it a lot more than I guess 90% of the population liked it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought the makeup effects were good.
Yeah.
The way the girls look, their face, which
Hmm.
you see in the trailer. There's some other, I think stuff that you don't see in the trailer.
Yeah.
With as far as how they look, but I thought they looked good. It was
Hmm.
practical. There was a little bit of CGI in one of the scenes,
Hmm.
but most of it is pretty practical and just kind of what's on screen is what they filmed. Um, and what's her name? The nurse from The Leftovers and stuff. Whatever her name is.
And out.
Yeah, I
Her name
really
is
like
Anne
her.
in this movie too.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like her. I feel like you said Hereditary. She was really good
Hmm.
in that. Compliance,
Yeah.
man, she's good in
It's
that.
an intense
Leftovers,
movie.
she's basically
Yeah.
the main villain, kind of. Um,
Hmm.
she's good, and her story was
Hmm.
pretty powerful. There's certain lines in the movie and certain like monologues that I was like, okay, like this movie means something.
Yeah.
Like it has something to say. It's not
Hmm.
just trying to be a super scary movie like The Exorcist was. It's not
Yeah.
it's not trying to imitate what The Exorcist did. It's kind
Hmm.
of its own thing. And David Gordon Green is, he got a lot of heat for the Halloween trilogy, especially Halloween Ends.
Hmm.
And which I totally get, and we were bashing that movie for sure.
Yeah.
Um but I feel like Halloween and The Exorcist completely different. What you're doing with Halloween, like there's a certain expectation that you kind of have to follow
Yeah.
because you have Michael Myers. Like you have to have him in the movie.
Yeah.
He needs to
But
be a focus of the movie.
that's the thing though too. Like, yeah, people you can bash on Halloween Ends all day. Like I get that. But he also did
Yeah.
two other good Halloween movies
Right.
too. Like
Right.
one of which is in my top three
Yeah.
of all Halloween movies. So it's like
Yeah.
I don't know. It just
Yeah, so right off the bat, people were upset about the fact that he was the writer, director, and everything.
mm-hmm.
And so I think this movie was right from jump going to get a lot of people that just no matter what they weren't going to like it.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that. People have made up their
Mm-hmm.
mind about
Mm-hmm.
this movie, and we'll get into the actual criticisms, but yeah, I agree with what you were kind of saying earlier that it's a little unfair, the
Mm-hmm.
some of the criticism that they're giving. um I will say that if you have like a religious background, especially like if you're a Christian or have like faith in your life, I feel like this movie might hit a little harder for you
Mm-hmm.
than if you don't have those beliefs. But I think you could probably say that about a lot of like exorcism type movies.
Yeah.
But I think this one in particular, because of how much they talk about it and how much scripture is used,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, I've the couple of the monologues and stuff. Like I feel like it's a little heavier on that than a lot of exorcism movies, even more so than The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Because I actually, me and Katrina watched The Exorcist just I think the night before
Oh, okay.
seeing the new one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know. I feel like a lot of this movie was powerful in that way, and a lot of exorcism movies aren't in that
Yeah.
way. I feel like the Pope's Exorcist was kind of. I know I posed the question to you, Katrina. Like, are these movies like Christian movies? Like, can you consider them Christian films? I know it's kind of weird to think, but I think there's an
Yeah.
argument to be made. Um, so anyways, just if you don't have that in your life, then this movie might not hit you in that way. But I think if
Mm-hmm.
you do, you can find some value in this movie that other people might not. So yeah,
Yeah. But
it's pretty
if
heavy.
that is the case, yeah, that is definitely heavy, and it was definitely a heavier movie, especially for possession type
Hmm.
movies. But doesn't if that is the way that it's being taken, is not alienating a
Yeah,
good portion of your audience? Like
right, right,
it's may not be the best way to get
right.
people to like your movie. It gets a good way of getting a portion of your audience to love your movie, but
Yeah,
if you're, I don't know, I feel like there's, I feel like this was like his like, I guess maybe, I don't want to say last chance because they have to make sequels to this movie, but it just seems like after Halloween Ends, this should have been a bigger movie than the
yeah,
Halloween trilogy that he
yeah,
did. This was supposed to be the movie that put him back on the map, or put him on the map for horror movies. Because really, anyone can make a Michael Myers movie. Like
yeah,
it's not hard to do.
yeah,
No offense to the directors and everyone involved in those movies, but there's more complexities with an Exorcist type
yeah,
movie. You're dealing with heaven and hell. You're dealing with the
yeah.
devil. Like and that's why I'm like, should this have been his second horror franchise to tackle? Because how do you complete a trilogy where the devil is your enemy? Like, unless you defeat evil, like if you like fight Satan himself, and it's like, how do you end that? It's like,
Yeah,
what's your game plan?
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Who knows where this is gonna go because Halloween
Yeah,
Ends went in a really weird direction. So
it did. Yeah,
who
and
knows where what the plans are here?
yeah, but he was just human.
Yeah, yeah,
He got killed. Like there's no bringing him back for like another, unless they like remake of movies or whatever.
yeah,
But continuing on, there's no continuing on for that.
yeah,
But you can't do that to Satan. You can't do that to the devil. Like there's just no way.
yeah. Um, yeah. So I was gonna say something. Okay. So yeah, I don't. I wouldn't say that this because of the religious aspect it alienates people.
Mm,
Because I don't think it's like so heavy-handed that
yeah.
people are going to be like offended by it.
Mm,
But I think that if you do have that in your life, then you're going to appreciate it more than if you don't.
yeah.
So, because that stuff could just be boring if you don't have that kind of faith in your life, then maybe these things like is just mumbo jumbo, and you're just like, whatever. I
Yeah.
know. You gotta, do all this, talk about the Bible. Like, okay, let's move on. I want to see the girl spin her head around and cuss at you, and I'm looking for that stuff. I don't
Yeah.
care about all this monologue about God and all that. No, let's get that out of here. Let's go back to the, masturbating, all that stuff. Let's go back to
The
that. That's what I want to see.
the cross like
Yeah.
being used inappropriately.
Very inappropriate.
Oh man.
That's one way to say it. So just I could see someone getting bored with it and thinking it's kind of boring. So not like offensive though. I don't think people would be offended by it.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It definitely wasn't like you were saying, heavy-handed to the point of
Yeah.
like, oh, this is definitely a Christian movie, and
Yeah.
don't shove that propaganda down my throat, kind of
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't think it's to that level.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it a lot. We got to see it a few days early, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little trivia before the movie,
Oh, okay.
and if you got picked to answer the
Mm-hmm.
question, then you won like a shirt or a mug or something like that.
Nice.
So we were like on a guest list, so
Mm-hmm.
we got in, and we
Whose
got
guest list were you on?
Sacktown Movie Buffs.
Oh, okay.
Kier from Sacktown Movie Buffs. He
Nice.
messaged us and asked if we want to see it.
Wow,
I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, I got you on the list, and so
man.
just get there a half hour early. Usually, you have to
Mm-hmm.
get there at least an hour early.
Yeah.
So, but we were seated, so we had certain seats.
Mm-hmm.
And so he wasn't picking people in that area. So I was like, man, that sucks. So we didn't get to really answer any of the questions. I think we got to answer one, but the answer was like already given. So
Um,
yeah, so we didn't get any shirts or anything, but we did get a
man,
poster
nice.
at the end. So that was cool. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, my town will never have anything like that. Smaller city.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to get deeper into it, but I think we're gonna have to grade it and then get a little further into the criticisms and all
Yep.
that.
All that good stuff.
So yeah.
Uh,
So let's go ahead and grade it. So what do you think?
um, I am going to give this one. What am I going to give this one? I don't. It's a hard one to really grade. um, I think I'm going to just go 89.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
this is coming out after.
89.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I gave Saw 10. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't really. I think 89 is my sweet spot. So.
All right, I'm gonna go 91.
Okay.
Just a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get into the criticisms. So let's get into the spoilers. Here we go. Yeah. All right, so I'll kind of name off some of the criticisms, and then I'll let you kind of give your take on it, and then I'll
Okay.
give mine.
Okay.
So, one of the criticisms that I've seen is that it is hardly, or it's kind of a cheap legacy sequel. You have the mother, in the
Mm-hmm.
movie. She's a returning character. well, we're in spoilers. You have Reagan at the very end.
Yeah, at the very end. Which, if
Um,
you looked on IMDb recently, she's second shown
oh,
on there.
really?
I'm like, seriously? Come on, guys. Yeah.
That's funny.
Right behind Ellen Burstyn. I'm like, come on. Like, this is not cool. She's in one scene.
And so people have said that it's like a cheap, like, just legacy sequel. Like it's not really a legacy sequel. They did a bad job making it a legacy sequel. So what do you think about that?
I do agree with that to a certain extent, because Ellen Burstyn is not a Laurie Strode. She's not a Sidney Prescott.
Yeah.
She's up there with, well, no, she's not even up there with, like, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, that legacy character from the first movie.
Yeah.
She's the mom of these characters. Like, it's
Yeah.
not, it's like, none of this stuff happened to her.
Yeah.
It happened, she's not a survivor of this stuff. So having her in it was kind of, it felt forced, in my opinion. It did feel kind of forced. And like, oh, we need to have someone from the original in this. There's literally 2 characters you can possibly have in it. So
I know.
yeah. There's Reagan and the mom. Like, that's it. And
yeah, I wonder if anybody else is even alive.
I have no idea. Yeah.
I mean, because the 2 priests died.
Yeah.
And then you got,
and
the
then
mom
that's
and
really
Reagan.
the only other characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Have some of the people from the party from the when Reagan comes down the stairs.
Yeah, the guy playing the piano.
Yeah,
show up.
Yeah, it's a random character.
Yeah.
But as far as like characters go, yeah, there's the priests and there's them. Like, that's literally it. And so it did feel like we need to get somebody in here.
Yeah.
To sort of be the connection between the first one and this one. They didn't need to. The demon could have just mentioned Reagan, and that could have been it. Like, you didn't need a legacy character. And I don't even.
I think people would say that's even a cheaper, like, connection.
Just throw the name in there.
Oh, all right, now it's an Exorcist movie, because we said Reagan.
Yeah, I just don't.
That's people's issue. Is this movie is hardly a connection. Like, it's just barely a connection, and so it's like you just threw in a couple of things to make it connected so that you can use the name.
Yeah, and then they like burn her eyes out like 10 minutes into her showing up. Okay, like, and I do remember seeing that in like the trailer when it like flashed by or whatever it showed her. I thought they were going to kill her off, not just have her be in the hospital. It would have been, I think personally, it would have been better if they had just killed her off at that moment instead of, maybe that would have been another way of bringing Reagan back.
Sure.
Do it instead of her visiting her mom at the hospital. But I think it would have, they didn't need the mom. Having Reagan come at the very end would have, to me, been enough for a connection between the first one and this one. And then just have her be in the sequel or whatever.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah. They didn't need... They should not... Yeah.
I don't... Go ahead.
Sorry, I just think that having the mom in there was kind of it really wasn't a big deal. And they didn't... Like, when she turned it down originally, they should have just been like, okay, left it alone.
Yeah.
Don't pay her double for 15 minutes of her coming back for nothing. Because nobody really cared.
Yeah.
That the mom from The Exorcist came back to this movie.
Yeah.
She's not Reagan. She's not like a survivor type character. She's the mom of a survivor. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, she was an important character.
Well, yeah,
she
was involved.
Stuff.
She saw what was going on.
Yeah.
But nothing really happened to her. So to have her come back and be like, I've been through this before. Like, no.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. So that criticism, I think, is unfair because how are you going to connect the movies?
Yeah.
There's two characters that that lived through the first one. One of them is 90 years old.
Yeah.
The actress.
Yeah.
I don't know what more this like someone wants from this movie to connect it to the original, to make it a more valid legacy sequel. There isn't a Michael Myers that you can bring. There isn't a Laurie Strode, like you said. There's Reagan and the mom, and that's it. So, I mean, I don't know what people were expecting from this movie to be a, you know, what would have been enough to say, okay, yeah, this feels like a legacy sequel or a sequel to The Exorcist. It was 50 years ago. Yeah. This movie isn't going to necessarily feel like 1974, you know? Like, it's not gonna really connect that organically to the original. I don't know what expectations people had as far as that goes, but I don't think that criticism is very fair. Another one that I've heard is that it's a cash grab. What do you think of that?
To that particular criticism, to separate it itself from other exorcism movies, because we get exorcism movies like every year.
Yeah.
They're a dime a dozen at this point. You need to do something different, and I think having it be connected to The Exorcist, bringing a legacy character back to this movie, making it so. With that criticism, though, I will say, I think you said we were on the same page on that. You didn't need to have the mom in there at all. You could have just brought Reagan in at the end, and been that should have been enough of a legacy return in order to connect the two movies. Right. And I think people would have been. I think they would have been happier with just that, because she's actually a legacy character. The mom doesn't really count, because, you know, like I was saying, it didn't really happen to her. So just bringing in Reagan at the very end sets up a sequel to this movie, to where, oh yeah, we're gonna get Reagan in the sequel. Maybe she gets killed off shortly into it. I don't know. I don't know what they're planning on doing. But you have to separate yourself from other exorcism movies. It's hard to do when you're connecting The Exorcist, because Exorcist it really should have been a one and done type of thing. There really didn't need to be any sequels, but you need the tension, you need the atmosphere that the first one brought. And it's a thing that a lot of people like about older movies that they don't like about modern horror, is that there's not a lot of atmosphere in horror movies today. They're more about it's more about the special effects, or like the killing scenes or whatever. In today's horror movies, and it really, they don't leave much to the imagination like they used to. Sure. So with that, I don't agree that it was a cash grab, but I can see why people might think that way, just because it is a like, and you can't really blame today's technology for this, but the way the way the original was filmed, you're never gonna get that back.
No.
Like the way it's filmed, the like
Yeah.
the you just our cameras are just more I want to say shinier, I guess, than they used to be. You're not gonna get
Yeah.
that
Oh, and
feeling back.
the
Yeah.
sound design, and just there's something about the quality of filming and sound back in the
Hmm.
70s that is so unique and like unsettling and kind
Hmm.
of disturbing, and that
Yeah.
just is a it's just its time.
Hmm.
It's kind of a product of its time, and you're just not going to get that back. And
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
I think that that's obvious.
Hmm.
I don't know
Yeah.
if people were expecting for this movie to feel like a 1970s Exorcist movie.
Hmm.
I don't know why you would think that, especially if you watch the trailers. I mean,
Yeah.
what?
I
So
will. Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead. You
I
will
will
say,
say regarding the like in the Halloween Kills
yeah,
movie when they went back to
yeah,
Haddonfield,
that
that
was
did
pretty well done.
feel like a OG Halloween type movie.
It did. Uh,
But can you do a whole movie like that? Like those are
yeah,
just scenes of it.
yeah,
So I don't know what kind of technology they used for that, like little bit of time that
yeah,
they went back to Haddonfield. Um, so they might be able to do that temporarily for a little bit in these movies,
yeah,
but can you do an entire movie like that? If you can, then do it. Like if you
yeah,
can make it feel like that again,
yeah.
then definitely do it. I just
Right.
don't know how you can for a full hour and a half to 2 hour movie. This is a 2 hour movie.
Yeah.
Um, so
Well, and it's weird to try to do that, but have it set in 2023
yeah,
too.
yeah,
So if you're going to do that, then it has to be set in the 70s, right?
yeah.
For it to kind of make
Mm-hmm,
sense. So I, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of silly to me, and for it to be a cash grab,
mm-hmm.
they're not grabbing any cash.
No, they're not.
they
They're losing money off
they
of
are,
this.
yes. So cash grab doesn't make any sense. This is not like we're just gonna stamp Amityville horror on it. Amityville horror, Amityville whatever. That's like a free
Yeah,
um, title right
yeah.
now. It's just you can add that to anything.
There's so many
So
Amityville movies out there right
yeah,
now. It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
So that's a cash grab. You're just
Yeah.
grabbing the Amityville title, putting it on your movie, hoping people will watch it because of that title.
Mm-hmm.
This one, they had to pay a lot to get the title for
Yeah.
The Exorcist.
Yeah.
They wanted to make something epic.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to do something big with The Exorcist.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it was a lazy made film.
Mm-mm.
When you're talking about cash grabs, you're talking about, oh, that movie was just lazy put
Mm-hmm.
together, that you can tell there was no effort put in. They're just trying to make a quick buck and, you know, get in and out
Yeah.
of theaters and, you know, pay off
Mm-hmm.
the actors, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I just had no feelings like that at all. And then when you look at how much money they spent, okay,
Yeah.
the definition of a cash grab does not work
I know.
with this
Cash
movie.
cash grabs happen when if you I think it's if you don't make a movie, you can lose the rights to it after a
Yeah,
certain period of time, after like 7 years or something like that. So what people will do, what studios will do is they'll wait till like the last year that they have it and then put something out,
yeah,
some stupid attempt at whatever it was, set the that the title is just to keep that title back.
Right.
They paid like $500 million for the rights to The Exorcist.
Yeah.
This was definitely not some sort of, we got to put something out there or else we're no. You paid a lot of money for this franchise. I don't know.
Go ahead.
I don't know how much money they thought they were going to make off of this because they needed, just from the 30 million alone, they needed like to make 60 million off of that. Plus whatever, that's not even including the 400 million that they paid for it. So it's like, what do you
Yeah. Well, and I'm seeing articles like, oh, box office bomb, they paid 400 million for, it's like, no, it's not just for this one movie.
Yeah, it's for
first of all. And I agree that they're probably not going to make that money back. But come on. Like, it's just dumb.
It's not bad. It came out this weekend, right?
Yeah. It's made like 45 or something.
It's at almost 50 million. That's not horrible for a horror movie.
No, that's above average for sure.
Renfield made 10 like its opening weekend. Come on.
Yeah. And I was saying earlier that maybe they're considering it, a property, so they're gonna, make money off of merch and stuff, right?
Yeah.
But now that I'm thinking about it, The Exorcist doesn't have a brand.
They really don't.
It's not like
Halloween. Buy a Reagan shirt.
Halloween, Friday the 13th, like Nightmare on Elm Street, even Texas Chainsaw, Chucky, Scream. All those are brands, right?
Yeah.
They have a face. They have they have a brand. The Exorcist doesn't have a brand.
No.
It has a classic horror movie. And some other movies that a lot of people probably never saw. And then this movie. And so they're not going to be making money off of a brand when it comes to like merchandise and stuff like that. So, I mean, I have a lot of, I wouldn't have spent the money if I had the money,
No.
I wouldn't have done that. I don't know if it's a very good like business decision.
Not for that. Like you can, if you're going to spend half $500 million, which is a ridiculous number anyway, on a horror franchise, make it make sense. Like Exorcist doesn't make sense to spend that kind of money on. I don't know. Maybe tackle Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know how much that they'd have to pay for that. Probably more for Nightmare, honestly. But do something else. Like, why Exorcist?
Yeah.
I get you're wanting to. Maybe you have a story. I'm hoping you have a story, a 3-movie story that you're wanting to tell. And I'm hoping by the third one, it will all make sense and it'll all go together. And maybe by the third movie, the haters of this one will appreciate this one because it's telling a story.
Yeah.
Like we're just getting the first part of a 3-part story right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's just calm down with the hate until we get our full story.
Yeah.
And if it's cohesive and if it makes sense, then maybe this could be potentially a really good trilogy of movies.
Well, I almost have a lot more respect for the fact that they spent so much money to do this. That's like, like someone like us, right? We're not a huge podcast. If I went and, me and you went and bought a bunch of equipment, and built a studio and all this, but we didn't really plan to make too much money off of it.
Yeah.
But we're just so into it. We're so like, we have so much fun or so much just, we appreciate the art of podcasting or whatever. It's kind of like that, where it's like, they want to spend the money because they want to be able to make the movies.
Yeah.
maybe it's not a financial thing. It's just financial because they had to be able to get the rights.
Yeah.
Because I don't see how it's a financial benefit for them
And of all
at all.
companies, Blumhouse seems like the last company that would spend
Yeah.
that much money on a franchise,
Yeah.
because they don't put money into their movies, like
Well,
hardly at
I
all.
don't know if it
But
was
that's when
Blumhouse or
that's how.
Universal or like a
Oh, it may have been
combination
Universal.
of them.
Yeah, it may have been yeah, it was probably mostly Universal, because they're the ones that
Yeah.
have. I don't even think Blumhouse has that money to
Yeah, I
just
don't think
throw
so.
into a franchise.
I don't think so.
I mean, they're with James Wan's company now, though. So
They are. Yep. I think their first movie is Night Swim.
I think it was
Which
Megan was their first one. That Night Swim is one of theirs for sure.
Megan had
But I
the
think
atomic
Megan was,
monster attachment.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
So, but Night Swim is definitely coming out and
Yeah.
looks interesting.
Yeah.
From the producers of The Nun is what I saw. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
really.
That's what you're gonna put on there? Like, come on.
Yeah.
You produced a lot of other movies.
Yeah.
um yeah, so another criticism is it wasn't scary, right? It wasn't, and
Yeah.
I did think it was going to be scarier.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't expecting the Exorcist level of
Yeah.
scary. I wasn't expecting so much of the like vulgarity of the
Mm-hmm.
Exorcist. I wasn't thinking that was going to be a big part of this movie.
Yeah, there's some things you just can't do anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
And some of the stuff in that movie you just can't do anymore.
yeah. And that's what I think a lot of people were shocked by
Hmm.
with that movie. I mean, it's still shocking today to me.
You couldn't really do it back then either. It's just
Yeah, and but at the same time, let's say they do or they did in this movie, then it's not really unique. It's just kind of okay. You just basically did what the original did. Like you're not
it's
doing your own thing at that point.
yeah. I mean, it
You
is the
know?
same demon that we're dealing with, so it's
Yeah,
possible that they could have done some stuff,
yeah,
and yeah, they could have done more with
yeah.
like pushing the boundaries a little bit, because we're
I
not
agree.
talking about just normal people. We're talking about like
Yeah,
demons inhabiting humans. Like they're
yeah,
going to do some crazy stuff if they're inhabiting humans.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, maybe push the boundaries of what you can and can't do
yeah.
just a little bit, because that was the whole thing with the original Exorcist. Like they definitely pushed the boundaries to the
Right.
point that even today, like you were saying, looking back on that, like okay, like if you can't do that today, you probably couldn't have definitely done it back then. Like
Yeah.
it's just in the 70s, and yeah, I'm hoping that. I mean, it seems kind of messed up to even think, but I do hope that they push the boundaries for the
For the next one.
next movies.
I think they will. The
Hmm.
next one is Deceiver.
Yeah.
So that has a certain connotation, right?
Hmm.
This one was Believer, which I think was a
Yeah.
very fitting title.
Hmm.
But Deceiver sounds a little darker,
Yeah.
maybe a little scarier.
It's their Halloween Kills.
Yeah, yeah,
just have whoever gets possessed just start murdering people.
yeah. So there was a couple of things that I didn't expect for the priest to be killed.
Yeah, there
That
were a
was pretty
couple
intense.
head turning scenes in
Yeah, that
head
was pretty
twisting
intense.
scenes. Yeah.
I
I mean, they
was
killed him off in the first one.
yeah, yeah,
They killed both of them off in the first one.
yeah.
The two of
I
them, I think.
was you know, they got the group together. The whole community monologue was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that monologue. And they got them all together, but then the priest was like, I can't do it, you know, it's not been authorized or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, they're all in there trying to, you know, get this to work, and they're struggling, and then the priest comes in. It's like, yes, you know, the priest is
Yeah.
here. He's you know, he's kind of, you know, fighting the system, and he's gonna do it anyways. And then he just gets killed, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh man, like that was kind of like a punch in the gut. Like, oh man, like he
Mm-hmm.
was supposed to be the one that was supposed to, you know, finalize this.
Yeah.
Um, and then with, you know, it was in the trailer, the whole choice between the two girls.
Yeah.
It was unpredictable to me at that point. I
Yeah.
didn't know what was going to happen, and I was like, are they both going to die? Is one of them going to die? Are they both going to live?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't have predicted the way it ended.
Yeah.
Um, and with the father yelling, "I choose you,"
Mm-hmm.
you know, was it he chose her to die? Because they didn't really say make a choice
Yeah.
who lives and who dies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are you choosing living or dying? Right. So
Yeah.
he made the
Yeah.
choice, and he chose for her to die. Apparently.
Well, what I got from that was I don't think Angela was ever going to get taken, like was going to die anyway,
Mm,
because from what they showed us in the very beginning of the movie when they were in Haiti,
mm,
him and his pregnant wife, how
mm.
like this lady like put a blessing
Oh yeah,
on Angela,
yeah.
kind of preventing anything to happen to her,
Mm,
maybe possibly,
okay.
which is
Yeah.
why I kind of like I get why he made the choice that he did in the beginning to like choose his unborn child over his wife. But what if he did choose his wife like
He did
after?
choose his wife.
Oh, really? To
Yeah,
help?
that's what she was saying to him. Like, why didn't you choose me? Um,
Oh,
yeah, because he did choose her. It doesn't really go into how she ended up dying, but Angela
mm-hmm.
lived.
Yeah,
But we don't see his choice
yeah,
until Angela is talking to him when she's possessed and like,
mm.
you didn't choose me, you know, why didn't you choose me? And
Oh, yeah,
so
that's
then it
right.
shows him say,
Oh,
you
and
know,
then he said, "I choose
save
you."
my wife. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So
okay.
that was heavy.
Okay.
I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
that's that's rough. You know, and that's those character moments.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's like good about this movie is those moments. Um One of the other moments that I thought was, you know, like gave me the chills was with the nurse and how she, you know, somehow Angela was able to know about her, you know, becoming a nun and
Mm-hmm.
then getting pregnant, having an abortion and all that.
Yeah.
And but then later in the movie when they're doing the exorcism and she's trying to perform it and she
Mm-hmm.
says, I'm a minister of God, and they're like, you're a whore of God. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, um I can't remember what else they say, but then they say, did the power of Jesus compel you? And then they're like laughing at her, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man,
Yeah.
that's a good line right there, because that's connected, you know,
To
to the
throw
first
back at,
one,
yeah.
but then to also kind of, it's like a
Mm-hmm.
dig at her, and they're like laughing, and with their evil voices they say it, and it's like,
Yeah.
dang, that's a rough one.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, that was good writing right there.
Yeah.
That got me, that part. Um, so
That was
yeah,
good.
that was a good part.
So the part, and it was pretty dark too, during that whole exorcism scene, um, where it shows Catherine, and it shows like her body, her like limp body, and it like shows it like goes in. inside, I guess, Catherine, and you see her, like her
Mm-hmm.
spirit or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and you just
Yeah.
hear like what do you say? I choose you, Catherine, like in a really like
Yeah.
creepy voice, and then
Yeah.
she like gets taken, and then
Yeah.
that's just her death.
Right.
I think that there's going to be something with that in the sequel.
Yeah.
I
I
think
can
they
see that.
might go back and try to get her because that's a dark part to leave that on.
Yeah.
Like her soul
Yeah.
just goes to hell. Like that's
That's
not.
so rough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. That part where she like wakes up in the like
Mm,
that area, that like tunnel sewer place. I
yeah.
don't even know what it was.
Yeah.
It was in the woods. And she hears her dad like, I choose you, I choose
Mm-hmm.
you. She's like looking for him, and it's like, I
Yeah.
choose you. Like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah.
Then she gets pulled down, and some of the images of the like demons or
Mm-hmm.
monsters or whatever, pretty creepy. And it
Yeah.
was like real quick too, like just flashes and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought that was pretty well done. And then that's when, yeah, she just goes limp
Mm-hmm.
um at that point. And I think what the next one's going to be largely about is the aftermath of that. And the father, the mother, there's two other kids in that family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I feel like, and Katrina was bringing this up too, there's something up with the dad. He felt really guilty. Like his sins are what caused this. He had mentioned at one point. He
Hmm.
also like didn't want to be in the room during the exorcism at one point. He went outside.
Yeah.
He like
Mm-hmm.
couldn't be in there. And he like, you know, couldn't be in there, had to go like around the corner, and he's the one that makes the choice. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like there's something going on there that um will be explored later.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe.
yeah.
I can see the aftermath, and I can see that too. I just hope they do the aftermath better than they did with Halloween Ends. Because
Yeah.
you see the aftermath of like the town in Halloween Ends,
Yeah.
and now evil is in like the town
Yeah.
and all of that.
Yeah.
I hope they don't do something like because it's the
Yeah.
same team,
Yeah.
and
That makes more sense for The
it
Exorcist.
does it does in The Exorcist,
Less than yeah.
but it's still kind of lame.
Yeah.
It's
You've already
like
done that. So yeah, you
yeah,
gotta do something different.
hmm
And maybe, Reagan and her mom, um I hope that they're part of the next one.
yeah. I don't know.
So,
They may have to pay her triple next time. I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I mean, at least Reagan, I
Yeah.
don't know like when they're filming the next one, and I mean, I
Apparently,
would
it's on
imagine,
on IMDb. It's got a release date, like year
yeah.
and actual date
Yeah.
for like April of 2025. So
Oh, 2025. Okay.
yeah, not next year.
Oh, I
That'd be
thought it was
crazy if it was
next year.
next year April. It's like,
I thought it was next October.
no, on well,
Oh, okay.
they could change it. I don't know, but IMDb is saying
Yeah.
like April of 2025.
Okay. All right.
April seems like kind of a weird month to release it to,
They release it on Easter.
but yeah.
I mean, not on Easter, but Easter weekend. That would be cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I have heard that because this one's Believer, the next one's Deceiver. What
yeah.
if the next one after that was like Redeemer or something? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
got to go like real. That would be like the Easter one, I would think.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Redeemer.
going to be the real like religious of the
Yeah.
three, because
Yeah.
you have to do something to end it. Like,
Right.
there's got to be an ending.
Right.
How do you end it without actually having like God be involved in this movie somehow? I don't know.
Like in physical form.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, and I liked the different. At first, I was kind of like, I don't know, like the different cultures and the different exorcisms with different cultures. Is that going to get kind of like confusing or
Mm-hmm.
kind of just, I don't know, kind of just convoluted with the different rituals and stuff? But
Yeah.
there were different pieces to it, but it was all the same concept and the same, seemingly the same God, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, you know, while it's different versions of exorcism, it's still a collective, um, group with the same mission, working basically off of like the Bible to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And because there was like the whole, she was like putting the water on her, and then that was a reference to, I think, a Ezekiel story in the Bible.
Yeah.
And so, and that was the girl who had kind of like the different rituals that she was doing and stuff, so it was still connected to the Bible though. And the then you had the pastor, you had the priest, Catholic, Christian, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it, it's all kind of the same too.
Mm-hmm.
um and so it wasn't like there was a Muslim or a Buddhist or
Yeah.
some other
It's
religion
all
that would
basically the
definitely have a
same.
different god.
The same. Yeah. It's all religions that basically have the same God, the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was, that made sense, and I thought that that was good. You're not trying to throw in different gods and stuff. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Get them
so I
all in
like
there.
that. Yeah,
Just.
just pick one. Somebody help.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I thought that was good. The ending monologue of the nurse was good. It was just a good movie, and it
Mm-hmm.
just admit it. It was a good movie. Okay, maybe
Yeah.
it's not the best compared to the original Exorcist. Nothing is going to be ever.
Yeah.
Just let go of that idea and watch the
I
movie
know.
for what it is, and then you might actually like it. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And it's not like it. They still lost at the end. Yeah, they did the exorcisms,
Yeah,
but they still gave him a choice to
yeah,
make between which one lives and which one dies.
yeah,
So I don't know. I feel like the exorcisms didn't really do anything because they made their choice, and then the
yeah,
demons left. Like
yeah,
that was it.
yeah.
If they had actually,
It wasn't like they pulled the demon out of Angela.
yeah, it just yeah.
Like an exorcism would. It was
Mm-hmm.
more so, okay, you listened to the demon and made the choice that the demon asked for,
Mm-hmm.
so the demon's gone now because
Yeah.
you did what it asked you to do.
Mm-hmm. So
So it's
it's
like,
like,
okay, you kind of lost. I mean, it's
yeah.
that family definitely lost. They lost their
Oh
daughter.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, so and that's heavy, and I feel like you can explore a lot with that in the second movie. And this movie was largely a drama, like the
Mm-hmm.
original.
Yeah.
And I think the next one can even really dive into that, because imagine the friction within that family, because
Mm-hmm.
the father is the one that kind of, everybody was in agreement. We're not going to listen to it. We're not going to give in.
Yeah.
And then he blurts in a different room. So, imagine the friction within the family, but then also with the other family, like, why did your daughter get to live?
Yeah.
Why did mine have to die? Why did yours have to
Mm-hmm.
live? Like the tension there too.
Yeah.
Um, you can, it can be pretty heavy and dramatic if they
Yeah.
write it right. The actors are already good, so
Yeah.
I think the acting
Yeah.
will be strong.
Get everyone back.
Um, yeah. So I think there's a lot of potential. It's not like it ended on a cliffhanger or something, but there's
Yeah.
potential for where it could go as far
Mm-hmm.
as like the different characters and their stories.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah. The demon can easily come back, like
yeah,
anytime. I know it's been 50 years in between, but maybe the demon was doing others, like possessing
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the same demon that's been possessing every um, exorcism type movie. It's the same demon.
Yeah.
It comes back for Exorcist Redeemer or Believer.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so they didn't. It didn't. Yeah, they still lost. Like at the
Yeah.
end of the movie, one of the
Uh,
girls lives,
yeah.
but you know that's only because the demon just vanished,
Yeah.
went away. And even in the first movie, when the demon goes into the priest and
Yeah.
then he flies out the window,
Yeah.
demon didn't leave. Like
Yeah.
demon probably just left because the body's dead now. So it's like, all right, well,
Right. Yeah. You
so
didn't
in
actually defeat the demon because you
yeah,
can't. You can't
yeah,
necessarily do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Which is why
A
I'm
human
like,
being can't.
what is your story for this?
Yeah.
I want to. I would just like love to be in that, like a fly on the wall in that room,
Yeah. Yeah.
hearing his pitch
Yeah.
to let's buy the Exorcist franchise for $400 million. Like you have to have some strong pitch in order
Yeah.
to get that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to know what your plan is.
What are your
But
plans?
yeah, I'm curious because yeah.
A couple negatives that I have. I The scariest stuff in the original is the transition that Reagan
Mm-hmm.
goes through.
Yeah.
And she goes kind of back and forth. So she like kind of has these moments of possession, but then she kind of goes back to Reagan, and then it's kind
Mm-hmm.
of more of a slower process. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like they could have done that in this one a little better. Because it kind of goes from, they find them, they start acting weird, start
Yeah.
going crazy, end up in a mental hospital, and
Mm-hmm.
then let's do an exorcism. You know,
Yeah.
there isn't a lot of like psychological testing going on, or, you know, therapy sessions or something that they could
Yeah.
have done. So I feel like they could have explored that a little more, which I think would
Mm-hmm.
have been cool. A lot of opportunities for some scary scenes
Yeah.
that they could have included. Um, so that I think that would have made it better. But the as far as the plot goes, the negative that I have is there is no way that a mental hospital is going to let you go and grab these girls and
Mm-hmm.
take them home in the state that they were in.
Yeah.
Um, and like you just can't do that. You can't just
Mm-hmm.
get a patient out of the hospital, even if it is your daughter.
Yeah.
You just can't. Not in the state that they were in. And the nurse, did she like take the equipment from the hospital? Because she had like medical equipment, like the monitors and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like that's not something you can just buy.
Yeah,
So
and it was
I would
almost
assume.
it was almost like the hospital was like, okay, all right, you guys go ahead and take them to an exorcism. It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
they were a part of it, like they knew that that's
Yeah.
what they were planning on, so then they agreed to it, which would
Mm-hmm.
never happen.
Well, so I do know that if you check yourself in, if you if you do it yourself, you
Yeah,
can leave at any time.
yeah,
If you're forced to be there, then like you got to stay until. So if the parents were the ones that put them in there, then I think the parents by law can take them out since they're the ones that put them in there in the first place. They
yeah,
weren't there because they killed somebody, and so they've got to be put in a mental hospital for a certain period of time
yeah, yeah,
till they get better. If
yeah,
yeah, if you go to one of those places yourself and check yourself in, or someone else does it for you, then they can check you out. I don't know. I don't know why they would still want to when at their um with how crazy they were being, but I think by law they can't do anything if the parents check them in.
yeah.
Um,
I I would have to look into it, but maybe different states too have
Yeah.
different rules with that. But if you're, as far as I know, if you're deemed to be like a threat, like a physical
Mm-hmm.
threat to others or yourself by a mental health
Mm-hmm.
professional, um, then I don't think you can leave until it's like signed off by that doctor
Yeah.
that you are like no longer deemed a threat to others or yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have like a safety plan in place, for, if there are violent episodes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
There's paperwork and there's a process to be
Yeah.
to be able to be checked out of a mental hospital. There's no way that these girls were um, participating in any sort
Mm-hmm.
of process like that.
Yeah.
So it seemed like it was just, okay, we need to do this exorcism. And then it was like that day they went and picked him up and took him home.
Mm-hmm.
And, that night they did the exorcism, which
Yeah.
just, no, that's not how it works. You can't just do
Mm-hmm.
that. so,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I think as far as the plot goes, that would probably be my biggest negative for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I liked everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did too. I really don't understand the hate, and I really hope that people will appreciate this movie more
Yeah.
as the years go by, and especially if when the sequels come out,
Yeah.
they'll maybe they won't have that that hate going into the movie
Yeah.
if they watch it a second time in a couple years to because they will watch this one again when the
See,
sequel
that's the
comes out.
thing. I feel like you're not allowed to watch the next one. With how much hate people are giving it and so many just like extreme things that people are saying about it, it's like,
Yeah.
all right, don't go watch the next one. Please
Mm-hmm.
don't. Like,
Yeah.
because if you really hated this movie that much, I don't know why you would want to go and watch the next one. But
Mm-hmm.
we all know you're gonna. So
Yeah.
maybe you chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind
And
of
maybe
my
they will by
2 cents.
2025. Maybe
Yeah.
they'll chill on this one a little bit.
Yeah.
Be like, you know what? It wasn't as bad as I
Yeah.
initially thought it was.
Yeah.
Well, then you go and change your score on IMDb.
Yeah.
Give it a higher score.
Yeah. Go do a completely new review on your YouTube channel. Just make up for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's never gonna happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've talked enough about this one. So let's end there. We've got Five Nights at Freddy's coming out
We do.
later on this month. And that's like
And
another big Halloween one. So look out
we've
for
got
that.
another one coming out too, right? We doing
Oh, you're talking about VHS and Totally
yeah,
Killer? Yeah.
Totally Killer.
Yeah, so we're probably going to do an episode on those two as well.
Mm-hmm.
There is, I don't know if we're going to get to it, but if you guys watched Never Hike Alone, the Friday the
Oh yeah.
13th fan film,
Oh yeah.
um,
That's coming out
back
in a couple
in,
days.
yeah, I don't know,
It's been a couple
2016 or something,
years. Yeah,
that
yeah.
movie came out. There was a Never Hike in the Snow, and Never Hike Alone 2 comes out on Friday the 13th. So
Yep.
look out for that too.
Which is when this
I'm
one
definitely
was
going to
supposed to
watch
come
it.
out. Yeah.
Definitely going to
Yeah.
watch it. I don't know if we're going to do like a review on it, but yeah, go check it out. Support stuff like that.
And then maybe possibly Pet Cemetery, Bloodlines. I don't know.
Yeah. Pet
I haven't watched it
Cemetery
yet,
Bloodlines is another one.
lots
There's
of movies coming out.
Hell House
Oh yeah.
Origins or something is coming out.
We got
House of
Thanksgiving
Usher.
and yeah. Oh, we have to cover that. We've covered
Yeah.
all of my Flanagan's shows prior, but we've got a Thanksgiving Day movie called Thanksgiving and a Christmas
That
movie.
looks, yeah.
It's a Wonderful
A
Knife.
Wonderful Knife. that title sounds like really cheesy, like
It
a
does.
straight to DVD,
It's
put it
Shudder,
on
so
the oh,
it's
is
gonna
it a
be a
Shutter
Shudder.
movie?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. It's a Wonderful Knife.
Yeah.
That just sounds
Justin Long's
so
in it, so
uncreative,
I know
It's
it
like it's a
does.
Christmas
Yeah.
movie. It's like, Silent Night, Deadly Night. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Yeah, but I like that one though. So
yeah.
so
All right.
lots
Yeah,
of
we got
stuff to look
quite a
forward to.
few. Quite a few. All right, well, that is it for our review on The Exorcist Believer, and this has been Scare Talk.
Sleep tight.
Don't let Angela bite.